We're joined now by Sourabh Gupta from the Institute for China-American Studies. He's a senior policy specialist in Asia-Pacific international relations. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Elaine.
Let's start with the South China Sea. Based on what we've heard from the White House press secretary and Trump's choice to be Secretary of State, it looks like the U.S. could undo decades and decades of China-U.S. ties. What could happen here? How dangerous could this be if the U.S. asserts itself in trying to defend what it calls islands in international waters?
What the press secretary and what Secretary of State Tillerson, or incoming Secretary of State Tillerson, said was that the United States and the Chinese from sovereign territories. The artificial islands that they have built are built on land formations in the sea, which is sovereign territory. Some of them might have also been features which are underwater, but they're allowed to build on it in certain circumstances. There's been real confusion at the US end between what is called sovereignty, on which the Permanent Court of Arbitration, which put out a verdict, had nothing to say because that is beyond its remit, and issues of sovereign rights. The US is very confused on this front, or rather I'll say the incoming Trump administration so far, and if it tries to enforce what it says, it would be tantamount to having a blockade on China, which is an act of war. So we can understand the gravity of the situation.
And not only that, it could open up some possible missteps or misunderstandings when it comes to the navies and the militaries in that region, right?
Oh, absolutely it could. And the real danger actually is that in these weeks and months, if there are actions on the ground in terms of a freedom of navigation operation or assertion by the United States, it could be conceived very differently at the Chinese end as what exactly the purposes of that operation are. Usually these assertions are more to just assert that these are international waters, not territorial waters of the Chinese. There's a difference in interpretation, and there's a fair difference in interpretation. Both sides have legitimate interpretations, which and UNCLOS is fairly gray in this regard, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. So the real danger is that the predictability of previous freedom of navigation assertions or any actions on the ground might be seen very differently this time around. And this could start a shooting war. I wouldn't say a war as yet, but shots can be fired and things can precipitate downhill from there very quickly, considering the other things also that Mr. Trump and his team have been saying.
And would you say the U.S. could find itself alone in that regard? No other support from other countries in the region, even possible claimants in the region? I mean, no one's going to want to jump in there.
Sure, in the South China Sea, the US had a good thing going until the Permanent Court of Arbitration put out its verdict, ironically, frankly, because the US had expected and anticipated that if that verdict went against China, then it would slowly raise the temperature with the other claimant states, the other littoral states. In fact, things have turned out exactly opposite. A chapter has been closed and a new chapter has been opened between China and the regional and the claimant states and the littoral states of the South China Sea. And they are on a very good track in the past couple of months. The United States needs a country on its side, a claimant state on its side, if it is really to make hay in the South China Sea against China. And it has no claimant state actually on its side at this point of time. The Philippines, Malaysia, and Vietnam have reopened relations in varying degrees. And with the Philippines actually being the ASEAN chair this year, I see an enormous potential for China-Philippines relations to make really great moves. And there is an opportunity out here which I hope the Chinese also will pick up, and it could qualitatively change the politics of the South China Sea.
All right, Sourabh Gupta, as always, we appreciate your insight.
Thank you.